Hey, welcome back everyone. This is Uncle Frank, and I am not a financial advisor, nor is any of the content to be construed as financial advice. This channel is for entertainment purposes only. In earlier videos, I told you guys some interesting stuff may start to leak from the Bill Wang Aragos trial. Listen to this excerpt. Now, this is Bill Wang's former head trader, William Tomita, who flipped on him. He's on the stand in court. Wang said short sellers facing a January 2021 squeeze on GSX, one of Aragos's biggest holdings, wouldn't be able to cover their positions because, quote, I'm not going to sell them at these prices, Tomita told the jury. He said Aragos owned about 75% of GSX shares at the time. Quote, the fund had cornered the market, he testified. We owned all the shares. Oh, I see. So you guys are hodling. Got it. Sound familiar, apes? But when we do this, we're dumb money, right? That reminds me when Frank Nez published AMC Investors now own 91.2% of the company. The article continues. That GSX short squeeze helped produce a single-day paper profit of almost $4 billion for Aragos, Tomita said, and made the equity value of the firm around $20 billion. After the market closed, Wang told his traders to keep quiet about it, though. He told them on a Zoom call not to discuss how much money he had. Keep your chins up, apes. Maybe one day Uncle Frank will be covering Ken Griffin's head trader, testifying against him and Citadel. Okay, so these people are really messing around with my event calendar, aren't they? The GameStop annual meeting of shareholders will be reconvened on Monday, June 17th at 11:30 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Monday, not this past Friday, right? Because if this big news Ryan Cohen might have was released on Friday, on options expiration day, during market hours, those calls expiring Friday might have printed in a huge way, high enough to wipe out some market makers, maybe even some clearing firms or a retail broker. We can't have messy headlines like that 140 days before an election now, can we? How many billions were saved by raking all that premium off the table on Friday? If I owned options expiring Friday, June 14th, I'd be really pissed. But if I was a market maker that wrote hundreds of thousands of them uncovered, I'd be really relieved, right? Look, guys, I'm not saying everything is a conspiracy against retail, but this rescheduling helped Wall Street unwind all the options that expired Friday. No matter how you slice it, Ryan got what he wanted. Wall Street catches a huge break and retail gets rugged again. So am I saying the brokers and market makers reached out to the DTCC, an organization they own, who cried to Gensler about systemic risk, and then Gensler told GME management when to hold the rescheduled meeting or he might be forced to delist the stock? I'd be a crazy conspiracy theorist, right? I guess you weren't there when they removed the buy button then. Hey, look, guys, Jim Cramer thinks we should sell AMC, and you know what that means. We've got a spike coming in the stock, right? Not investment advice or advisor, but thanks again, Jim. We think you should retire, you fossil. Thanks for the heads up, though. You can tell he really did a deep dive on this, right? He did a ton of research. This man knows better than most that AMC is directly tracking and connected to the price action on GameStop, which could be on the precipice of something huge. So speaking only for myself, this would be the last moment I would pick to sell. This only tells me Jim was asked to make this statement by Wall Street, and he obliged them. So let's do a test. Let's see if Jim is wrong again. At the time of this recording, AMC closed at $4.99. Write that down. We'll compare that to the price on Monday, June 17th, after the GameStop call to see if we should have heeded Jim's advice. Black Swan investor sees the S&P 500 jumping another 12%, followed by the worst crash since 1929. The boss of a Black Swan fund expects the S&P 500 to jump to a record 6,000 points, but Universa Investments' Mark Spitznagel expects the worst market crash in a century to follow. Spitznagel told BI that investor euphoria will peak, then asset bubbles will burst painfully. I don't know if this is going to go down this way. I'm just glad we're not leveraged 60 to 1 or more like our enemies are. Box office, Inside Out 2 launches to $13 million in previews, the most of any 2024 movie. Inside Out 2 on track to $100 million plus debut, posts highest preview grosses of 2024. Pixar's Inside Out 2 eyes third best animated pick opening of all time with 140 to 145 million. Late Friday night box office update. Hey, have you heard any updates about all this from your head of investor relations? Sometimes I think we don't even have an IR department. This douche is so quiet. Hey, John Merriweather, how about an update on retail popcorn? Selling out anywhere? How about some news on merchandise sales or retail candy? Selling out any popcorn buckets? Is this how you got your promotion to VP of Capital Markets, John? In addition to doing absolutely nothing as head of investor relations, if you go along with Adam's plans and keep your mouth shut on any positive news, you get a promotion and a nice bump in salary. That's how it's starting to look, John. Not seeing much capital markets experience on your resume, pal. In truth, you're not qualified to run a fucking Jiffy Lube, are you, chump? We endure 100 hit pieces a day on AMC. You think this guy would lift a finger to help us or the stock price? Don't hold your breath. I hope whatever you got for selling us out was worth it, John. It's just one man's opinion. I hope you, Adam Aaron, and Sean Goodman can spend that money in hell because you sold out millions of devoted shareholders that trusted you. And then there's our CFO, Sean Goodman. This is the highest ranking financial officer in the company. So he had to greenlight giving away millions of shares for free as a dividend as opposed to selling them like a normal convertible preferred share offering. Yeah, I'm talking about Project Popcorn, the ape. Today we pounce. This Nimrod must have also greenlighted investing in a bankrupt gold mine penny stock as well. Adam went to him and said, I'll tell you what, Sean, this is just my theory now. I know we're over $5 billion in debt ourselves, but I want to invest company money in this gold mine to help pay off 5 of Hycroft's lien holders that were all short sellers and or put holders against AMC, as a favor to Mudrick. Now, this is just my theory. So Adam continued, now I know none of us at AMC have any precious metals mining experience whatsoever, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll make you a board member at Hycroft if you go along with this cockamamie scheme. What do you say, Sean? Well, guess what, guys? Guess who the second highest paid board member at Hycroft is? That's right, your boy, Sean Goodman. Guys, this ass pump joined AMC in February of 2020. Since then, he sold $17.5 million worth of our stock to us. Do the Adam Aaron fanboys on Twitter even know any of this shit? Like Crystal Ball or Really Bad Person? Will you guys go share this video, hit the like button for me so we can get this information around and help our fellow shareholders remove their heads from their asses? Because if we don't replace these people soon, they're going to steal all the staplers and paper clips from our headquarters. Guys, on this slide, I want to share with you my thoughts on why so many apes can't figure out why every time Adam Aaron does anything, we lose 10 to 30% of our stock value. So they go on and on making excuses for him and defending him. They'll even attack you if you disagree with them. You're a shill. You're working for the hedgies. They blame Kenny. when they should actually join us in asking for his resignation and suing his fat ass off for breach of fiduciary duty. The first thing you learn in chess is how the different chess pieces move, right? You can't play the game if you don't know the rook moves differently from the bishop, right? So let me show you what these CEO chess pieces actually do, how they move. Within the scope of this presentation, I'll identify 3 types of CEO executives for you, just the way that I see it. First, we'll do the entrepreneur CEO on the left. I want you to think of a guy like Ryan Cohen. At this stage in his career, he launches new businesses. He builds businesses on a concept. He was the founder of Chewy, for example, the online pet supplies retailer, which is now the largest of its kind in the world, right? He doesn't take a salary at GameStop because he wants to give the business the best chance he can at surviving and reinventing its business model. I'm not saying you'll agree with every policy decision he makes. I'm just identifying a type of CEO to help clarify some things. Next up in the middle is what I call the company man CEO. This is the guy that started in the mailroom right after college and now runs the whole joint. He's been with the company or in the same industry for his entire career typically. This guy goes to the convention and knows everyone because he's been going there for 3 decades. Let's use Sean Gamble from Cinemark as an example. We pay Adam Aron triple what they pay Sean. Do you want to know why? Because Sean Gamble worked his way up in the entertainment and theater industry. He was Cinemark's CFO before becoming CEO. A normal, conservative CEO, a numbers guy, like a corporate CPA, not like the nut job we have over at AMC, right? Prior to that, he was with NBC Universal for many years as a CFO. He's a company man CEO. Then there's the third kind of CEO. We'll call them transaction or transition specific executives. These guys are brought in to oversee a significant change in the business structure, like a merger or acquisition, taking a company private or public, or even overseeing the liquidation of an enterprise. For example, if Ryan Cohen ultimately fails to reinvent GameStop, I promise he'll leave and one of these transaction or transition specific types will take over. When WeWork emerged from bankruptcy recently, commercial real estate veteran John Santora replaced David Tolley as CEO, right? The distressed credit or hard money executives fall into this category of transaction-specific execs. I want you to think of someone like Adam Aron. These people have a specific job to do and also have a very different attitude when it comes to doing that job. The best way to describe it is as follows. Either way, they get paid. In other words, there's a job to do, specifically oversee a change in business structure or nature. If everything goes wrong, they got paid. If everything works out great, they got paid. And they get paid first, even before the bondholders. These CEOs are added to the firm to handle a specific transaction, transformation, or significant business change event. They work closely with Wall Street, private equity, and distressed credit firms like Apollo and Antara, people like Leon Black, Jason Mudrick, or Himanshu Gulati. If you view GameStop and AMC through this lens, I think everything will be easier to understand. So why does Adam do all these strange things so many shareholders don't understand? Because that's his job as a transaction-specific CEO. And whether or not AMC thrives or collapses, he will be paid and paid handsomely. Can you see it now? Does it explain why we invested $1 billion in Saudi Arabia but sold out for $30 million? Does it explain why Adam would double his pay plan during the pandemic while we were over $5 billion in debt? Does investing in bankrupt penny stocks to help out hard money financiers make more sense to you now? Why give away ape shares as a dividend for free when all they really were shares of AMC masquerading as a preferred share? Why did we pay Nicole Kidman more for a commercial that only plays in the theaters than she makes for a movie? Should we really invest $250 million in green projectors when the company is so deep in debt? Why does Adam seem to kill rallies? Why is our investor relations department so excruciatingly quiet? I believe it's because our senior management team is working closely with entities that aren't really keen on a rising stock price. Will you guys try to remember a Morgan Stanley employee runs our board of directors at AMC? I promise you, he will not let Adam or his team do anything deliberate to hurt the interests of Morgan Stanley or Wall Street. On the contrary, from everything I've seen, all of senior management has been diligently working to help Wall Street while taking as much as they can in the meantime to enrich themselves. Okay, now let's get down to business. Let's screen for the most shorted stocks. I'm going to set my parameters at price greater than $1, average volume over 3 months greater than 200,000, and the exchange is set for the New York Stock Exchange. I see 1,630 results. Let's take a look. Okay, so on the New York Stock Exchange, most shorted stocks, I've got GameStop in the 12th position, Cinemark 13th, Carvana 17th, Fubo TV 18th, AMC 24th, and Archer Aviation in the 37th spot. Okay, let's start with Archer Aviation. Flying cars are landing soon. Guys, there is so much more to this than that. In my opinion, I see this thing as a light-duty replacement for the helicopter. It's not going to rescue loggers in the forest or perform rescues over the ocean, but I believe it has the real potential to become an adverb. You know, like I'm going to Uber downtown. Instead, I'm going to Archer to the Hamptons. These things are basically silent. They could land one on top of your building or in your backyard if there's room. I can envision so many applications for an aircraft like this. Imagine one of these quickly arriving at an accident scene, scooping up an injured driver, and then flying them to the roof of the closest hospital over all the traffic. I can imagine people hiring these contraptions instead of, a ferry to go to work, flying out to sporting events instead of driving or taking the train. The airports already have multiple duties for these things to perform. The short sellers are already targeting this growth company, and again, I think they're making a huge miscalculation. On your screen, you could see this thing zipping from downtown Manhattan to Newark EWR Airport in 9 minutes, as opposed to 34 minutes by train or car. Archer is developing multiple models of all-electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft focused on improving mobility in cities, called Advanced Air Mobility, or AAM. The company announced its launch on May 21st of 2020 with a facility adjacent to the Palo Alto Airport in the San Francisco Bay Area. Archer is dedicated to reshaping urban air mobility, focusing on saving time for users in urban areas. Archer is developing electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft for use as air taxis in urban air mobility networks. On your screen is a rendering of a hub. The company's goal is to replace car commutes with 10 to 20-minute flights that are sustainable, cost competitive, and low noise. Archer's aircraft are designed to travel up to 100 miles at speeds of up to 150 miles per hour and can carry a pilot, 4 passengers, and their luggage. The company plans to initially launch its service in congested U.S. cities like New York, Chicago, L.A., and Miami, with routes that connect airports to city centers. Archer also has partnerships to establish urban aircraft mobility operations in the UAE. Investor, developer, and former investment banker Barry Friedman first brought Archer to my attention in early 2021. Archer lands $1 billion order from United Airlines and a SPAC deal. United just ordered $1 billion worth of eVTOLs from a startup that aims to launch intra-city passenger flights in 2024. This article surfaced in mid-March of this year. Archer's $3.5 billion order book. Is the sky the limit for rising eVTOL star Archer stock? Archer is worth considering for investors speculating in the eVTOL space. Archer stock has continued to trade sideways in recent months despite its growth potential. The company has seen substantial demand build for its Midnight eVTOL aircraft with 700 orders valued at $3.5 billion. Archer is also breezing through phase 1 testing and is advancing its FAA certification. Key catalyst to watch this year. On topic, Archer receives FAA certification to begin operating commercial airlines. That's from June 12th, guys. There's the daily on Archer. It closed at $3.22 Friday, down 5 cents or 1.53%. The stock recently put in a new 52-week low of 3 flat. And when the Archer shareholders began to defend that level, that's when I started building my new position in the stock. This is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor. I will never tell you to buy, sell, or hold any security or cryptocurrency. But Uncle Frank is long Archer. On your screen is the only crypto position I hold, XRP. It's the 7th largest crypto project on the planet, and I have never seen a better trade setup or utility thesis in my life. I will continue to build my position while it's under 50 cents and will wait out Gary Gensler and his ridiculous case for as long as it takes. Breaking news from Saturday, SEC slashes Ripple penalty to $102 million. That's down from $2 billion. In my opinion, Gary just showed his ass and precisely how weak his case really is, and has only strengthened my resolve to buy and hold the coin. At this point, I don't care if Garlinghouse offers him a chicken dinner to settle. I'm standing on the global use potential of this product, not what Gary Goober Gensler wants to happen. Anson Fund settles with SEC in long-running short seller probe. You guys remember Anson Funds, they were short AMC. More than 3 years after the government began its exhaustive probe of short sellers, the SEC has finally managed to charge someone. Anson Funds, a $2.5 billion hedge fund, which reached a $2.25 million settlement with the SEC over the fund's alleged failure to tell its investors about its balance sheet arrangement with an activist short seller. The short seller, while not named, is Citron Research's Andrew Left, who's been the subject of a federal investigation for years, but so far has not been charged with anything. In early 2021, Left discovered he was under investigation when the FBI seized computers from his home. Left, who declined to comment, wrote the reports about the two companies that are named in the settlement. And here's Gary Gensler going after the little fish again, pretending he actually does anything to stop corruption and manipulation in our markets. SEC fined short seller over secret payments to publisher of bearish reports on cannabis stocks. The U.S. SEC has fined a hedge fund $2.25 million for making secret payments to a researcher that published bearish reports and negative social media posts that help drive down the price of two cannabis stocks. Uncle Frank doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe that hedge funds pay reporters to put out hit pieces and harass people on social media. I just don't believe it. Okay, there it is, the events calendar. Let's get prepared for the next couple weeks. What we're looking for here is for a big, fat, white, or black swan to land on one of these events. We want to catch our enemies on their heels. Uncle Frank is long AMC, GameStop, ACHR, Archer, and XRP. So far, I see 7 Fed officials scheduled to speak this coming week, so they've got something to sell us. Be watching for hawkish comments that could ruin the party for stocks. Monday, June 17th, 11:30 a.m. Central. The GME Annual Shareholders Meeting, Part 2. This is what it's all about for me personally. I hope Ryan Cohen has something big that'll blow a kidney right out of the ass of a predatory short hedge fund. So I'm actually very excited about that. Tuesday, June 18th, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, U.S. retail sales. Wednesday, June 19th, markets will be closed for the Juneteenth holiday. More about that later. Thursday, June 20th, 8:30 a.m., initial jobless claims. And Friday, June 21st, 9:45 a.m., S&P Flash, Services and Manufacturing PMI. But it's also quadruple witching expiration day. So keep an eye on the VIX. Now, I'm going to be adding to this calendar, obviously, but the following week, we do have Friday, June 28th. The entire PCE group of data will drop. That's the Fed's favorite, along with personal income and spending, all at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, I have some closing comments for my more liberal Democrat apes. As I said above, the market is closed on Wednesday in observance of Juneteenth, commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people in the U.S., which I, of course, celebrate. As most of you know, Uncle Frank is from the formerly great state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln. The Republican Party was founded to halt the expansion of slavery by abolitionists. A lot of people don't know that because no one wants to say it out loud. President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, but it was the entire Republican Party who freed the slaves. The 1864 Republican National Convention called for the abolition of slavery, and congressional Republicans passed the 13th Amendment unanimously, with only a few Democrat votes. So the Republicans voted to end slavery. The majority of Dems voted against it. The Republicans also voted to give the freed slaves the right to vote. The Democrats voted against that. The Republicans voted to give the freed slaves U.S. citizenship. Of course, the Dems voted against it. If you're a fan of the KKK, Jim Crow laws, or housing projects, you can thank Democrats for all that too. Fast forward to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Democrats fought that with one of their longest filibusters in our nation's history. But again, Republicans prevailed. Then in 1979, Democrat President Jimmy Carter created the Department of Education. The U.S. was ranked #1 in education globally at the time, but is now ranked 28th out of 37 OECD member countries. This hurt inner city students the most, in my opinion, many of them of African descent. All that really changes about liberals is who they hate. So if you want to celebrate Juneteenth properly, I suggest you thank a Republican, because in my opinion, no other organization has hurt black folks more in this nation than Democrats. Hey, I want to thank you for watching, and please remember to hit the like button after this slide if you enjoyed the presentation. Subscribe to the channel and set the alert so you're notified when I have new information to share. See you at the bell.